with reading tutorials and writing assistance, homework help, things of that nature. Mr. Davis here found one of my free reading tutoring flyers, and yes, that is correct. I am doing free reading tutoring. Um, Sessions can be booked online, and I will assess their reading ability and then develop a plan to get them back on track. Okay, so Mr. Davis, tell us a little bit about why you, well, first of all, tell us what Daryl L. Davis Youth Foundation is, first of all.
How y'all doing out there? We welcome y'all to come in, and most definitely we welcome all the support and feedback that y'all will give to help us build this here. But remember to like, share, and to subscribe to Mrs. Robinson's Reading Resource. I am Daryl L. Davis of the Daryl L. Davis Youth Foundation, caring for kids, our future of tomorrow. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we have many doors open to be able to help facilitate not only the youth in our community, but their parents as well. We can pour into a child, but at the end of the day, the child still has to go home. I am a resident of Tyler, Texas, born and raised here. And I come from a two-parent household where I had a mother and a father. In fact, my dad was the second black engineer of the Cotton Belt Railroad. My mother worked in the school district and in the medical field. I was privileged as a young black kid coming up in the early 70s, on late 60s, to be placed into a private school, a private Catholic school. Me and my brother, we was one of a handful of minorities that went there, black kids. And most of we went there for sports. But coming through school, I was bullied because of my size, my weight, and I went into a shell. They forced me to say Easter speeches at church from the time I could say Happy Easter up until the time I graduated. So I figured that they was being bullying and picking on me, and I went into a shell and didn't receive anything. And I come through school dumb. You know, they had the old saying that dumb as a box of rocks. Well, that was me. I come through there, I was dumb, I didn't know very much. And I graduated high school in a timely manner. But I graduated high school with an F minus. And I never heard of that before. And when my mother went to challenge my report cards and things like that, the teacher would always say, well, he just sit back there and don't say nothing and don't do nothing. And they would get on the teacher about not calling them. But at the time I was stubborn and I was stiff-necked. And it led me down the road of doing wrong. And I went to stealing hubcaps and T-tops and just being a nuisance to the community. And every time, because I was a privileged kid, people in the neighborhood stood up for me, not knowing that they were making me worse and worse by not holding me accountable as being a youth. But even if they did, I was rejecting it. And I was placed into a situation to where I was thrown in prison for nearly 20 years. It was like 18 years, 6 months, 3 weeks, and 5 days I was in that concrete jungle. And when I went in there, as I said, I didn't know anything but how to hustle, take stuff that didn't belong to me. And when I went to prison for a crime that never happened. And that was an eye-opener. And prison holds many things that that's abnormal to the average person. And all the stuff that prison offered that was abnormal, God kept me away from it. And I was able to make my first parole. And when I did, while I was down there, I began to educate myself in law and became a pretty good litigator while in that institution. But before I began to find my path I began to talk to God about the things that control uh, the world. And God gave me three things: religion, law, and politics. And I began to study on each one of them. And I placed all my time and energy into that. Um, I never got any tattoos. I never participated in homosexuality, and I never became a gang member. And none of that is by my might, but by the might of my Savior protecting me through that concrete jungle like that. And I would see young men that would come in there, and many of them couldn't even spell their name. And I really couldn't say because I could spell my name, it was a lot that I didn't know. And God began to move onto my heart that when I got out of there, it wasn't no if I got out of there, but when I got out of there, He had something for me to do. And I lost 9 family members in there: my mother, my dad, my uncle, my grandmother, cousins, and this was a devastating blow. Uh, and my desire was to try to keep the next child from going through something that I went through, as far as being disobedient and hard headed. It wasn't that my parents did not pour into me, they did. It was just the fact that I wasn't receptive of it. So I could figure that by me being stubborn and stiff necked, that I might could reach out and help another child to keep from going down that path. Of course, peer pressure is much greater today than it was when I was a youth. But nevertheless, we still dealing with human beings that we have to pour into and find the root to what makes them tick. It takes different things to make us tick. So when God brought me up out of that concrete jungle, He blessed me with a ministry called Continuing Faith in Christ Ministry. And up under that ministry, we have several different branches that we serve the people in. Our ministry serves prisons, it serves homeless people, it serves anybody that's in need. And it's a ministry for everyone that's in need. And up under the umbrella, like we say, we have the Daryl David Youth Foundation. For 7 years, we gave kids backpacks and school supplies around the city of Tyler. We didn't do it this past August because we was in our feelings for being butthurt about some stuff that we had went on for the last 5 years in this city. And we thought that all that we had done for people and their families to try to make things light on them, that they should have supported us a little bit more. But God brought us up out of our feelings to that, well, we have to do what He wants us to do and not what we want to do as people. So we want to get back to the root of this here, to teaching kids the value of life. Over the last 15 and 20 years, our kids have lost the value of what life is. It's not being poured into them. We have a very wicked spirit that's roaming the globe right now, and it starts in our kids. Kids are very disobedient to their parents. You have parents that has kids that's 9, 10, 11, 12 years old that's scared of their children. Their children is jumping up on them because they doesn't have a foundation. Many men are missing. Then you have men that has kids stroll all over town that decide to get their life together, and they get with a woman that has 4 or 5 kids. They begin to pour into the woman's kids but neglect their own. So that's what we want to come in at. And as we was doing this here, we ran into Miss Robinson's flyer, and what she was offering free tutoring classes to our youth. And in today's time, when people have time to spare, to give to other people's children, that's monumental. You have people that love teaching that will not give their time for free. They'd rather be paid. And in this day and time, we need people like Miss Robinson and her reading tips and tutoring tips. And the reason why is because they are going to disband schools. When, I don't know. And the reason that I say that is because they're allowing kids to be homeschooled now. Homeschooled by parents that don't know anything, right? So how can you be effective when you don't know? The only thing that they condition us for is to go out and punch a time clock. You go to work, you work your 8 hours, you come home. If you mess up in between that, you go to jail. We want to teach kids how to become airline pilots through our aviation program. We want to teach kids how to become lawyers and judges through our legal regress. And Miss Robinson had things that she wanted to implement for the kids. I'm not being a male chauvinist or anything like that, but we would like for our young ladies to stop twerking and go back to baking cookies and making clothes. Yes, we know that you can swing a lawnmower and a jack, but to be able to make your own prom dress, I think would be monumental for some young girls that's coming up, and they can get paid for making their peers' dresses as well. And there's nothing wrong with males being seamstress because we have to have tailors for our suits and our pants and stuff like that. So please don't take what I'm saying the wrong way and twist it because words can be twisted. But we want to get back to the basics of life. And the only way we can do that is if we pour into our youth because they are our future tomorrow. And that's what got me started into wanting to get involved when I would see those young guys come in there and their pants be sagging on them and they'll come over to the table. School, what's up, school? I'm just looking up. So I said, well, what kind of school am I? Elementary, junior high, college, what? All school you tripping. What set you belong to? I don't belong in no set. What you rocking? I'm rocking this and that. Man, sit your butt down right here, but I didn't use the word but. And learn something. And yeah, I got you. How much time you got? Man, I got 2 years, man. Man, sit down somewhere so you could go home. If some of his friends come through there and they hit that door. And I remember this, I had just finished talking to one little fella. And yeah, you right. And I want to say that he had just had his second child or first child, some kind, because they just be rambling on. Nevertheless, he went out that door with some of his gang member friends. And when they sent him home in a box. He had 2 years. All he had to do was sit down for 8, 10, maybe 12 months. And he was going home. But when he went home, his toes was in the earth. They had to make funeral arrangements for him because he wouldn't listen. I met a guy down there who had 5 years. He come down there. He might would have done 2, maybe 3 years tops. If he'd have been acting right, he would have got out a lot less. But nevertheless, he'll never go home. He was a gang member that went down there and started, they went over to that schoolhouse, matter of fact, and snuck their way up in that hospital and raped that nurse in that hospital. He had 5 years. They gave him 75.
You can't say that word. You
What's
gotta
that?
say great. You can't
Great
say
what?
You can't say the R word. We'll get shut down.
Well, I don't want Ms. Robinson to get shut down for me using the R word. However, being politically correct has us in the shape that we have now, but I'm gonna respect her platform. But the young fella, they went over there and did something that they shouldn't do, and he got 75 years for that. So now he's stuck. He got 80 altogether because they stacked the 75 on top of the 5. And then he went and done something else, and he got another 75. So the young fella never come home. And I seen these kids that get lost in the system like that, and my heart hurt. And then when I get out here, I see how young kids robbing and jacking and killing In my neighborhood, I guess it might have been back in 2022 over there on Broadway, near some of the apartments that we are going to go into. A young kid, I believe he was 14, killed a man over there for a cell phone or something. Some people say it was a form of gang initiation. Well, I don't know that to be true, and I'm not going to put that on a kid like that. But nevertheless, he's a kid that's in trouble. When I find situations like that, it's traumatizing because we're talking about a child that never will have an opportunity to live a decent life. And when it comes down to kids like that, a lobby bills in Austin, it's called Second Chance, where when juveniles get in trouble, they take a second look at them. But we don't want to even go down there to have to take a second look at them. We got a situation that I've been working on for, oh wow, I guess about as long as I've been working on my situation, about the last 20-some years. But kind of more so heavily since I've been home, dealing with a young lady named Jennifer Jeffley. She was 15 years old in the 7th grade. And she was allegedly had killed someone.
Yeah, and I've had 14, 15-year-olds in 5th grade, 6th grade, and I'm wondering how and why this happened. But I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead on, ma'am.
The age and the grade kind of threw me for a loop there. But yet, and still, we continue to pass kids on that.
You know, and that's due to not wanting to have nothing to do with them.
That part too.
And you know, and she's got charged for capital murder, and she's been locked up since she was 15 years old. We're talking about a young woman that had been locked up for the last 30 years. You know, she's been locked up longer than she was free, and when she was free, she had the mind of a child.
Yeah.
And to top that off, it is probably a 75 or 80% chance that she's innocent, because she was supposed to have bludgeoned someone to death, and Jennifer was probably about 4'6", 60 something, almost 80 pounds tops, right? And no one ever was questioned about that. And they had 2 other guys that was on their radar that they never picked up. And Jennifer been as a 15-year-old that been in that institution in the state of Texas for going on 30 years.
Where is she now?
She's at the hobby unit, I believe, down there around Marlin, Texas. But she's not the only juvenile that have went down there that have faced that. And it comes from not knowing, which is why we started our youth legal regress. We want to take our youth downtown and look at trials. Sit in on them trials and see how when them jury come back with somebody that look like you and they throw them away for life. We want to be able to take them downtown in the Smith County Law Library and let them read some of those cases that's down there that may deter them from doing wrong and might encourage them to want to be lawyers. We want to take them to different colleges and universities that has law schools.
And it's funny you say that law, because we were talking about what we weren't taught. Yes, I graduated from high school. Yes, I graduated from college. But as far as me, being a citizen of the United States, I was not taught the law other than what the preamble to the Constitution and you know the Bill of Rights. Like that rote memory that we had to learn because we had to take a test on it. But as far as our individual rights as a citizen and how to protect and make sure that we abide by and learning our own civil rights, that was not taught to us. And that is such a disservice to everybody, you know. And as far as citizen laws, we learned that when you turn 18, yes, you have the right to vote, and you had to learn the laws of how to operate a motor vehicle that you cram for a test and then hope you pass come test day. But seeing how the legal system works and the consequences of not following that, other than my family member is in jail because he did this or that. But, and then, oh, this gets me. You don't learn the law until it works against you and you're forced to have to learn it so you can get out of a situation that you got into, whether it was your fault or the system or somebody else's. Everybody's situation is different. But not knowing that, not knowing how to regulate our own emotions, learning just social skills. Every morning, when this was my first year teaching, second year teaching. This is my second grade class, and we had what we call our first five. Our first 5 minutes of the day was an introduction, and I had the students give me a rating on their hands, how they were feeling today. If it was a 1, you were okay. 2, I could be better. 3, I just don't feel right. And 4, I wish I had never came to school today. And 5, I'm having the worst day of my absolute life. So I would look at the fingers and who had 5s and 3s and 4s, and we addressed that. And I never will forget one time that one of my students put up a 4, and I was like, okay, what's going on with you today? Why you got a 4? And it was because he got a horrible haircut. His mama, daddy, somebody decided to shave his head, and he did not like his haircut. He didn't feel good about himself. The kids were kind of sniggling and grinning because they weren't used to seeing him like that. And so and the rule at our school was absolutely no hoodies. I'm like, okay. I said, I tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. You keep your hoodie on today. Well, I forgot to inform the monitor in the cafeteria that I said that he could wear the hoodie today. And she was in an uproar because he wasn't abiding by the rules. And we don't wear hood. Like, she was talking to this child like he was a rabid dog on the street. And I'm like, it's a hoodie. You didn't even ask me. You didn't come talk to me. You didn't pull the baby to the side. You don't know what's going on in that child's life and where this child's mental state is, even though, yes, he's only in the 2nd grade, but he has feelings. He has emotions, and that broke my heart. And I was like, I went up to her. I was like, I told him he could wear it. Then she turned on me. Well, you know the rules. And I'm like, well, good God. I was like, okay, I tell you what. Well, you in here, just leave it off. When you go back in the class, we put it back on. And it's like that situation in that school, in that cafeteria, the same situations that apply in life. When in Rome, you got to do what the Romans do. But the fact that you got to be told these rules, I didn't inform her, so there she chewed him out. We're not informing ourselves, our kids, or anybody of the consequences and the natures of the law, and that, the consequences that come with that. That's like building the plane while you're flying it in the air. You want to be prepared and know the consequences. And one of the rules in our classroom, and one of the school rules that our administration made us follow, was kids need to know the rules and they need to know the consequences. Okay, you break it the first time, you get a conduct mark. You break it the second time, you lose recess. You break it the third time, you get a call home. You break it the 4th time. So they know this, but applying that to real world situations and further consequences, that's what we're lacking. And the one thing that scares me, which I can't publicly comment too much, but I will keep it brief and generic when I say that if one of our presidential candidates wins, then the goal is to dismantle the Department of Education. True enough, Our education system can be 100 times better than what it is. But dismantling that, then what you gonna do? What about the special needs kids that have laws protecting them about providing the interventions and accommodations and privacy acts and all that? What's going to happen to them? I just read an article the other day about them slashing special needs services by I don't know how many millions of dollars. And I'm thinking, we're struggling now. We don't have enough special ed staff now, and we don't have enough resources in half the schools now, and you want to dismantle a body of people that's helping to ensure them, even though it still can be improved. But what's going to happen then? Is it going to be a free-for-all? What's the ultimate goal? And what's the plan? What is, people just be talking out their neck. I want to know what the plan is. We have
You
teachers.
asking me that?
No, not just in general.
Cause
Anybody.
I tell you,
know.
man. I tell you, we're dealing with a lot of parents today that's not really concerned about their kids, and I stand on that. And I'm not trying to bash no parent because they might not have been taught how to be parents, right?
That is true.
We have parents now that would take their kids to a fight and they never make it home. Two girls got into it with someone at the hair store up in Arkansas, and these girls they was 19, 20, 21 years old. Their mother took them back to the hair store. Both of them get killed. Just back in late September, we had a young fella up there in Dallas that played high school football for Kimball. They was off the Friday night, and he didn't play, so he decided to go to the South Oak Cliff football game. Whatever happened, words transpired, and altercation broke out. He went home. I guess he must have told his mom. His mom took him back up there to the gas station. He wound up getting killed. The hardest thing is that I should have said no. I should have left. I should have left. Should not have come back.
That pride.
But pride takes over, and we want to instill. It's not about the peer pressure, not about being bullied. It's about trying to live another day. And we have to get parents to caring about life again. Because kids don't. They just arrested a young drill rapper the other day, Lil Durk. Lil Durk is a serial killer. We
Allegedly.
Well, no, I know
Allegedly.
See, that's the problem. Everywhere he goes, I got you, man. Yeah, allegedly they say. But those are the people that's raising our kids, and that's not allegedly. Because our kids go home to this kind of music and stuff like that. Young Thug, he just took a plea deal the other day. I think it was a very, very bad plea deal. Because he's on 15-year probation, and he's a youngster, and he like to smoke weed. But if he do, and they don't give him but one time to violate, right? And our young people see this here. Going to jail is not cool, kids. It's not. And especially if you don't know anything. What I learned about law is you have the word law, and it's spelled L-A-W, right? But from the word law, L-A-W, it become plural. It become L-A-W-S, laws. Well, what do you mean? You got laws for these people, and you got laws for these people, right? And we don't even understand what these different laws is. Like right now, we so discombobulated and so confused that in the next 4 or 5 days, we think we pick a president. The president of the United States don't have nothing to do with the American people. The only thing that society is doing with that is using it to divide us, including our family members and the people in our household. People, I'm from the state of Texas. My president is Greg Abbott.
Your
I'm not. My president is Greg Abbott. He's listed as the governor, but he can reject anything that comes from Washington D.C. He governs this state, right? So you see why I say he's the president? Every state has a president in it, right? We can control that, right? But we can't control anything outside of the federal government. Even when we're dealing with pardons from people as prisoners, the president of the United States can't pardon a state prisoner, right? It got to come from the who? The governor, right? So how do I meet the governor? Well, the first thing I got to know is who my state representative is in my district.
I need a sip.
Right? Once I learn who my state representative in my district is, then I can, roam around the capital. I know my state senator. I know my operations. But here we are living in cities. We don't even know who our city council members is of our district. We don't know who our school board trustees is. And this is where we have to educate the adults, right? Because everybody running around now thinking that they're going to pick a president, and the president is elected by 207 electoral votes. And we don't have one, right? And that's another thing that we need to teach our kids, how to become financial literacy. We want to bring people in from bank institutions that would sit down and tell them how to save their monies, how to invest their money. Everything that we liken in, we want to try to build our community to be stronger. We want to bring our community back from a hood to a neighborhood, back to a community. When I was coming up, we had a community. We leaned on each other for everything. We had our own cleanuses. We had our own movie theaters. We even had our own bank at one time, National Guaranty, down on the corner of Palace and Gentry.
I remember that. My grandma had a bank account there.
That was back in the 70s, people. So we could get back to those things.
I remember that.
We had a lot of black millionaires here that stuck together. We had Alfred Cannon, Old Man Harris,
Dr. Telefair.
Dr. Telefair, Ernest Sterling. But when you go to looking for black productive people now in our community, we have no one. And I just thank God for people like Miss Robinson and her Robinson Resource Reading, because pouring back into a child right now, that's monumental. Especially if you're a school teacher, you probably don't care too much. Not that you once didn't, but dealing with a situation and environment that you're in today where you have to have 4 or 5 jobs in one. It could be burden. You have to be the teacher, the mama, the daddy, the security guard. Sometimes you got to patch them up. They ain't out there scrapping, right? So you got to play the doctor and the nurse too. In 2019, I told my state rep, Matt Schaefer, that the minimum for school teachers should be $100,000. Matt said, what? I said, it should be $100,000. And he just looked at me. And I said, well, you want to pay them athletes hundreds of millions of dollars to shoot a ball, throw a ball, kick a ball, but you don't want to pay the teachers to teach the students. I said, man, that's ridiculous. So I think in 19 they wound up getting about a $5,000 raise or something, which I don't think it took the cheat off of. But we have to get involved, and I think if more teachers get involved and start talking to them parents, and them parents can push this up there in that legislature, and Mike can get them people teacher raised. But if you don't know how to do these kind of things, then it's over your head, man. And that's where people like myself come in there with that legal regress.
Yeah, awesome. I was with the parent involvement. I'm an exception because I was a teacher. I have kids in the school system. Yes, I went to every open house. Went to the Meet the Teacher Nights.
You go to school board
meetings? Now that I didn't.
Nobody go to school board meetings.
That I did not do. I did not go to the school board meetings. But I was there in the school. I was there volunteering. I was, You know, you need something, call me, let me know. If you, I knew who, I actually knew the names and the faces of my kids' teachers, you know. Built a rapport with them, and it just shocks me. And I know people work, I know people have lives, but if I have 45 students between two classes and I only know what 10 other parents look like, that's an issue to me. And I'm talking about all year. All year. I haven't seen your face. You ain't called. I called you. You don't return calls. That I can't fathom that. And I'm not blaming them all, but there is a small percentage that are essentially checked out. And then that goes back to when I say the village, we need to make sure mama's okay too, or we need to make sure grandma, aunt, or whoever is taking care of that child okay too. And that is something that I have not seen. If your parish school board, if y'all do that, let me know, because just recently I went to a situation, and you know that, but I'm not going to broadcast all my business. But I had a situation at the school where I was going through something. Now, it kind of hurt in a way because of the fact that the principal knew the situation, the counselor knew the situation, but nobody reached out to say, hey, do you need counseling? Do you want to go talk to somebody? You know, I'm at the family constituency office, and nobody said, do you need anything? Is there anything that I can do for you? Are y'all okay? Is the situation okay now? Is it stable? Because truth be told, it's not completely fixed as of yet. But in my mind, and what I'm seeing with my own eyes, it's a numbers game. I need people in the seats so I can charge the state and the county for these tax dollars that this child is occupying this seat. If the child doesn't occupy this seat between 7:45 and 3:50 in the afternoon, sorry, you don't get that however dollar amount for that day. And to me, that is deplorable.
It's unacceptable.
It is. It's absolutely deplorable.
But we as people don't say nothing. Back in 2017, the citizens of Smith County, city of Tyler, gave TISD over $220 million to build 2 high schools. They only built 1 high school. Southside High School. It's like a university over there. I call it Southside. It used to be formerly Robert E. Lee. We had some people around here that wasn't wrapped too tight. They want school name change. Why? Why would you want a school name change, people? Now look, you got 2 John Tylers now. One John Tyler Legacy, the other John Tyler, just John Tyler High. Right? Sometimes you leave well enough alone. Right? I'm all right with Robert E. Lee. Put him on a statue. 40 foot. But on that Northside High School, you give me Thurgood Marshall. And put him in a 40-foot statue of Thurgood Marshall up there with a law book. He was the first black man on Supreme Court of the United States of America. Right? Don't shut down their history, you bring yours up. See, we think backwards. And then we let other people think for us. Right? We have 340 some million people here in the States, United States of America. You only have 41 million black people.
Wow.
20 million Asians, and 65 million Hispanics. So you put the Asian population and the black population together, you still will not number Hispanics. You say you like dealing with the numbers, huh? You have 220 million white people here. They outnumber us, what, 8, 10 to 1? 200 million and we ain't got 41 million? And we think we run something? right? We don't really have no institutions anymore. Prairie View been took over by what, Texas A&M, right? So people, we have to be mindful and stop sleepwalking on what we had and start building our finances. I know it's hard to trust people because they place a lot of distrust in us, but we want to trust somebody. That's where walking by faith come in at, right? You have to be spiritually lined up with somebody in order to make it through this road, because we can't make it through this journey alone, right? And society is teaching our kids things that we don't even know nothing about. Back to that school situation, they built a nice school over on the south side. Tennis courts, soccer fields around it, football fields around it. But when you come to the north side over here, they give it a facelift, patched it up, make it like a prison. But those kids don't know it look like a prison because they hadn't seen one yet. And you know what, people, y'all parents did? Y'all let them people run that school over there for 2.5 years without a kitchen in there. They were feeding y'all kids like inmates from a closed down middle school, transporting their food through COVID-19. And none of them preachers around Tyler, Texas said nothing. No NAACP. Nobody said nothing about them kids but me. And I didn't have no kids over there. I didn't even have no grandkids over there. But I love kids. I poured into the kids. You got a church right across the street from that school. That pastor ain't said nothing. I ain't sent nobody in the apartments to get them kids to find out what their interests are. But they know that the police coming over there every other day, taking them to jail. To me, that's hurtful. Right? But yet still they getting people's monies.
Yeah. And what you about when we had this conversation the other day about the churches adopting schools, because like I think one of the best things that my principal did was he had a church that partnered with us. They were down the street and they adopted us, and they gave the teachers breaks during testing. They would come once a month, read to the kids, bring the teachers gifts and cards of encouragement and reassurance, and they prayed for us, and just having somebody else saying, hey, we in this together. And then they hosted, I think they hosted our family reading and math night, I believe. So I think they sponsored like the food and some of the activity booths and everything. But that goes back into, where's our community? Where's our support? There was a time when we knew our neighbors. If we got in trouble, our neighbors were there. Our neighbors snitched on us to our parents, and we got in trouble with our parents and the neighbors too. And like today, I live in an apartment complex. I don't know any of my neighbors' name. I don't know nobody's name over here. I talked to this lady on my way to work or way home. I don't know her name.
And you know, ma'am, I ain't gonna smash the gas on you and say that you should feel bad, because we live in a time now where society has us isolated.
Yeah.
But the key word was you live in an apartment complex, where it may or may not be weirdos. The thing is when you in a neighborhood,
yeah,
and you got houses that's next door to each other, and you don't know your neighbors.
I didn't know my neighbors when I was in the house either. Two of them. I take that back. I'm lying. I did know, because they did make it a point. I knew the people directly around me, except for that one. They had an attitude or something. But anyway, they never came outside. Never saw them outside. They were just like little hermits. They never came out. I never seen them. But the one on each side and the one across the street in front, I did know their names. And then the little boys down the street, they would always come down and talk to them, talked to me, and I ended up giving them books and stuff like that, and a puppy when we moved. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
different because
But
I
you-
was in a house. Yeah.
Yeah, you really want to know your neighbors for your sake, because you might be someone that likes to travel, or you might someone likes to come in late, get off from work late. So you want to know your neighbors so they'll know when strange cars or strange people come to your house. Sometimes we might think it's a little nosy, but that could save our lives from the kind of world that we're living in today. Knowing who our neighbors
Hey,
is.
Henry.
But we want to thank everybody that joined in. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share to our channels. Ms. Rouse has a beautiful platform on, and we just want her to do what she do with those kids. She may or may not be looking for volunteers. I can't say.
I am.
But hey, we looking for. We don't want to step on nobody's toes. But I know one thing, that it takes a whole community to build a community. 1, 2 people, it can't build no community. 3, 4 people, you can't build no community. But it's like get you a good foundation and start stacking. I think that, well, matter of fact, I know 40, 50 years ago, when we had less churches, we was more together as people. Today we have more churches. We had less churches. We were more together as people. Today we have more churches, and we can't be farther apart. Back here 3, 4 weeks ago, people that was on the dock workers, the ship channel, they went on strike. When them people heard that them folks were going on strike, the first day they did, we went up in Sam's, bought up all their toilet paper, their paper towels, all their tuna fish, can, whatever they can get up out of it. They bought that. It wasn't nothing in this stuff. Walmart's was alike, right? And my thing is this right here. Every Sunday and Wednesday night, you have them temples full of people. And you mean that none of them preachers talk to them about faith? They couldn't have had no faith if they went there and bought all them people's stuff up. Because the word of God said, now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. That strike didn't even last a week. Now them folks stuck with all that shit in there. So, people
Be there when they need it.
now they probably be done put on marketplace by now. But
not the bulk items. Okay, gotcha.
Man, people, we at your children in a good way. We want to instill in them. We want to teach them how to protect themselves from different predators. We want to let them know that you don't have to be bullied to conform, to fit in. And we're black men that have been persecuted by the police. But we do not talk about defunding the police. We need the police. I don't want to do their job. I want to make them do their job. I want to make them do their job correctly and not oppress our people while doing so. We have to get our police officers with proper training. We have to get involved to know who our police chief is and see if the police chief hiring the kind of officer that we want in our neighborhoods. Meaning that we have to get involved. We have to teach this thing. We have a very important race in our city dealing with our state rep. Our state rep did it was tremendously in helping me with getting House Bill 567 passed, which is the Crown Act. Yeah, Tashara Parker, she was in on that as well. She's a former resident of Tyler. But that bill was authored and adopted by a little boy from Taylor, Texas. He was 6 years old. His grandmother didn't want to cut his hair. And lobbied that bill. In 2023, it became a law, September 1st, right? Called the Crown Act. And right to this day, we had a young guy in Barber Hill, Texas, named Daryl George. He was a high school senior, and they kicked him out for the whole year because of his hair. And
you said Atlanta?
No, this was in Texas,
Oh,
Barber
okay.
Hill, Texas, down on the
Oh,
other side of
okay.
Houston.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But the bill was authored from a little kid out of Tatum, Texas,
Oh, okay.
which is maybe about 40 miles from here, down around Henderson. His grandmother didn't want to cut his hair, and was able to get a bill passed. But the other side of the law saying it's ain't a law, because if they would have said it was a law, they never would have kicked him out. And we had no preachers, no NAACP, none of them Bledsoe, none of these people around state stood up for their kid. The only somebody I saw stand up for Daryl George in Barber Hill, Texas, was Cornell X and Dr. Candace Matthews. For that, he was on his own. Now, you taking a child that wants to graduate, that's entering the pivotal stages of his life, and you slam the door on him that he don't get an education, right? So when I come up out that concrete jungle, for those of you that I told a while ago that I made F minuses when I graduated high school, well, I went on to
Oops, my live about to end in a few seconds. I don't know
Okay.
why this
well, we still
is
running
very
over here.
delicate. Okay. All right.
You back?
Yeah, we only got one person in here, but it's okay.
Yeah, this sounds good. But anyway, back to what I was saying about me graduating high school with F minuses. I done that 18 years, 6 months, 3 weeks, and 5 days in that concrete jungle. I went back to school. I graduated with 2 college degrees in 4.5 years.
And they are?
2020 a social arts degree, 2021 with a Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice. And I guess about 72 hours ago, I made up my mind to go back and get my master's in criminal